All right, welcome into episode 5 of You're Not Terribly Important to Me, my pop culture movie podcast. It's going well. Got a few under my belt now, and trying to put together a show on a regular basis. So all in the midst of trying to find a job at the same time. So that's always fun. But yeah, Oscars are coming up. They're on Sunday. Um, kind of always look forward to this as much as I lament Hollywood and what it's turned into. There's just sort of too much history to not, as a movie lover, love the Oscars on a certain level, which, and I've talked about this before where, so much is made about it. Like it's the definitive final statement on what quality is or what is good in the year of filmmaking. But really it's just a bunch of people who get together and decide what they liked best. It's a bunch of rich elitists who have very little in common with everyday Americans, but that's okay. Like, again, it's a big club. It's a big club of famous rich people who think that, you know, what they have to say is the statement for society and the culture they represent here in America. So what little culture there is, I suppose. So it's a lot of high-minded nonsense, which is of course why it's ripe for ridicule, satire, all these sorts of things, mockery. Ultimately, I, Hollywood used to do a much better job at making fun of itself, at welcoming ridicule and sort of, hey, we can poke fun at ourselves, we can laugh at ourselves. And they sort of needed to do that to engender themselves to the public. I mean, the Academy Awards came about because of what was coming out of Hollywood. What a lot of papers were publishing these stories of opium parties and wild sex and promiscuity and having basically no values and being a bunch of degenerate artists. And it wasn't exactly untrue. So the Academy Awards was created so that they could put a public face on what was being made in Hollywood, that hey, there are these redeeming pictures of value that show um show great humanity and show what it is to be alive and to be human. And certainly that's where a lot of great art has come from, has been the movies with that sort of goal and mindset at the forefront. But it's funny how you can look at all this with a very cynical eye and see it as this, like, oh, it was just cover. It was just sort of cover to be like, hey, we're not deranged, sex obsessed weirdos, drug fiends. We're just like you. But here we are. What is this? The I think the first Academy Awards was 1927. So we're coming up on it. I think this is the 96th annual Academy Awards. I'm not quite sure because I'm not that big of a nerd about. Watch me be exactly correct here. Um, let's see. No, I'm not trying to call. Yep, it is. Let's see. There you go. I knew what the exact number was while pretending like I didn't. It is. It's the 96th annual Academy Awards. So I mean, they've been going for 100 years now. They've been doing this. And look, I like it because I still have some denial. Like some, it's like, hey, maybe they'll actually award something good this year. And they almost never do. I mean, the last decade has been a shit show of terrible movies, virtue signaling, high-minded pieces of crap. You know what I mean? So it's a crapshoot. And I've been watching. Okay, to be fair, I've only been watching, like, religiously for the last 15 or 20 years. So, again, there is a long history of good stuff getting nominated and winning, but, for instance, the Best Picture category is rife with people being pissed off and just, like, besides themselves and just like, "I can't believe so and so didn't win," or "This is what ended up winning," you know what I mean? So and we have that. I mean, I had that growing up in the '90s with what was it? Was it Shakespeare in Love winning over Saving Private Ryan? You know what I mean? So there are occurrences like it, but movies themselves have gotten worse over the last 2 decades. So it's just like every year it's like, okay, are the two movies that I like last year even going to get nominated, even going to get any attention? So this year, 2023, well, it's in 2024, but for the 2023 movie year and for the 2019 movie year, those were the two best years at the Oscars. And even in 2019, they fucked it up. They had Scorsese for The Irishman. They had Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They even had, Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, there were a lot of great movies that came out in 2019, and still they ended up giving it to, and again, to a foreigner. And again, I have nothing against Parasite. I have nothing against South Korea or Asia in general. It's just like the Oscars are really about the West and American filmmaking. I mean, you can include Europe in that just because there's some movies that do sort of transcend um that that cultural divide or that boundary, but it's like okay. I mean, Parasite, I think, ended up winning Best International Movie anyway. So it's like I just feel like you shouldn't be able to double dip like that. It's like you either represent the best of the sort of international category or it's a best picture category competition. But 2019 is just there were too many good movies for you to like to have this like. And then he wants to lecture what I can't even say the guy's name, Bomb Joe whatever. Yeah, I it's gonna come to me later, but wanted to lecture people on reading as on Americans reading subtitles, and it's like, you're a fucking dickhead. First of all, I grew up with a deaf brother, so closed captioning and subtitles was a pretty regular thing. Second of all, fuck you and your pretentious bullshit. Third of all, like Parasite's okay. It's not a bad movie. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it sucked, but it like compared to all the other good movies that came out that year, it was just like, okay, it's fine. It's an okay satire. Frankly, I, in watching that movie, I didn't really identify with the poor family. I more or less identify with the people who are being manipulated and being taken advantage of. But hey, whatever. I'm the dumb shit, I guess. Yeah, but 2019, that was a disappointing year. I mean, we saw some good stuff, like the best supporting actor category that year. You had Brad Pitt, you had Joe Pesci, you had Al Pacino. I mean, that was a murderer's row. Best actor was insane. I know that there's a lot of fans of Joaquin Phoenix winning Joker. Looking back, I'm sorry. I really think Leonardo DiCaprio should have won playing Rick Dalton. That's an amazing performance. Not to mention, just an amazing recreation of a Nixonian era actor in Hollywood who's sort of seeing the changes come from the French New Wave and Italian neorealism, where uh, there was that weird borderline. Like, do you have to almost like does an actor almost have to be a little gay, but like be a little feminine to get roles, to get parts? And you saw that throughout the 70s. You saw that in the late 60s, where it was guys like, Travolta, it was guys like, Al Pacino, like guys that did not fit a necessarily I'm gonna get into trouble here, but wholly masculine sort of image. And so, I mean, you still had those masculine roles throughout the 70s, but you sort of saw that changing after the sexual revolution in the late 60s. But no, I mean, it's been few and far between the last couple of years where like you'll have a gem of a movie amidst an ocean of crap. So 2020, 2021, 2022, it was just a lot of bad shit. Now, there, like I said, there's diamonds in the rough. Like uh, Anna de Armas getting a nomination for Blonde should tell you how bad it was. Where they're like, yeah, we have no choice because she's that good and we have nobody else to choose from. Kate Blanchett was very good last year in Tar. But yeah, just not much to really get excited about, even as somebody that, I don't want to say I enjoy the Oscars, but I do. I enjoy discussing them. I enjoy the competitive nature of them. Um, you know, and I just like, I like to talk about it. Like I like to talk about, sports, even though that's a fucking brain dead conversation too. It's just fun. It's fun to take all the time you invested in watching movies and actually having something of a debate saying, well, this person didn't deserve to win or that person did, or, and it's a way of culminating having to spend a year at the movies, whether the year was good which I would argue 2023 was pretty good, or it was terrible and you get drunk off your ass. You know what I mean? It's and just have to like sit through the process of like, okay, this year's finally over. We can move on. Um, so there are positive aspects to it. There are negative aspects to it. And it is fun to lament with your podcast buddies how terrible something was, or the fact that you had to sit through something. But again, it's like anything you spend a lot of time on. You just like to have that wind down of the movie year. But this year, 2023, I don't think that there are going to be that many surprises. I think we know Oppenheimer's going to pretty much clean house. It's going to win Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor, most likely. I think it's as much as I'd like to bet that American Fiction wins Best Adapted Screenplay. I think Oppenheimer might take that as well. I think it's going to win Best Score. So I mean, I think it's going to walk away easy with 6 Oscars, maybe 7. It just really ends up depending. But I think that American Fiction has a good chance of winning that just because of its success. I don't remember if it was at SAG a couple weeks ago where it was the big precursor to them being favored. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. I think Lily Gladstone is going to eke out a victory over Emma Stone. And between people being disgusted by Emma Stone's movie and performance to people just being disgusted with Lily Gladstone doing the whole like Native Americans are victims and we need to stop the Kansas City Chiefs and Florida State Seminoles and anybody that, kind of tokenizes the Native Americans. It's just like, please stop talking. Like, you gave a great performance. You played this proud Native woman, and it wasn't a victim narrative. It was this proud, beautiful, incredible performance. One of the best female performances of the last 4 or 5 years. Really, it was that good. Please just stop talking, you pretentious Hollywood hack. Please. It's like actors seriously, they whatever. They do this to themselves. They put themselves in situations to be hated by the public while acting like sanctimoniously protected. It's just like, please stop. Just do your thing. Let people love your craft. Who cares what your personal opinions are? Nobody cares. So, but yeah, as always, I look forward to it. I look forward to the Oscars, even if it's a shit show, even if, like all the musical numbers are going to be shit I don't want to see, like the music from Barbie. But look, I will say this. At times, you know what it is? And again, I don't want to be vindicated by Hollywood or anything, but for somebody that spends so much time watching movies, there is a small scrap of validation and, for saying, "Hey, oh, I was right. Hey, look, I was right. I actually said this was the best movie last year and it actually won." Now, has that ever happened? I think once. I think since I've started watching the Oscars, it's happened once where my favorite movie, the movie that I thought was best that year, won Best Picture. Sometimes it'll be an actor that I really like their performance or a screenplay or something, but the only year that it happened was 2015, was Birdman. Okay. And even then, Michael Keaton got robbed by Eddie Redmayne for playing Stephen Hawking. So, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's a crapshoot. It has like, it's not even about what the best movie is. You know what I mean? Like the years that that wasn't Lady in the Water. It was The Shape of Water one, or even the deaf person movie Coda ended up winning, or what was the Chloe Zhao movie that ended up winning? That was like about the transient Amazon worker played by Frances McDormand, Nomadland. So I mean, you just have pieces of crap that win because of their Oscar campaign, how much money they spent on getting screeners in front of people. I mean, there are ridiculous reasons why a certain movie wins over another. Crash. Everybody complains about Crash winning over whatever, Brokeback Mountain, Capote, a bunch of the movies that were nominated in 2005, I think. The 2005 Oscars for the 2004 movie year. You know why Crash won? Because it got its screeners in front of everybody. Everybody wanted to be like, it was because Hollywood is secretly homophobic. What are you talking? It's because you didn't spend enough money on your Oscar campaign. That's that so much of Hollywood is generated by money. And even when it's about awards and giving out s- giving an award to something prestigious or something important, whatever the fuck that means, by the way, it's it's still driven by money. It's still driven by people with their hands out and being like, we'll promote your movie if you pay us this, this amount of money for a budget. It's like it's all hollow, it's all bullshit. But hey, again, that is Hollywood in a nutshell. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all, and that's why I love it. That's why I love it, because I love being fooled at the end of the day. I love just falling into this complete fabricate. I know it's a fabrication. I know it's not real. I mean, it's is it any wonder that I used to watch professional wrestling? What is that? I mean, it's a carnival show. It's, but it's all the essence of, it's all the great essence of drama and intrigue and but on in a very specific venue, and uh, Hollywood is just an extrapolation of that, and different varieties and different flavors, and I don't know. I don't think I'll ever get sick of it. I think I'll always love it. Um, just, curb the degeneracy a little bit. I think that would go a long way. But yeah, I want to touch on something here real quick before I wrap up. Hollywood used to be great at making fun of itself. What Ricky Gervais did the other year, the Golden Globes, like, they need more of that. They should do that every single year. They should say, "Please, please make fun of us, roast us. America loves it." America would probably start watching the Oscars if you had a good 15-minute opening monologue or whatever, 10-minute, whatever it is, and then have little bits where throughout the evening, as, the host, who hopefully is funny like Ricky Gervais was, is getting more and more drunk as he keeps insulting Hollywood. Now, granted, they have to be funny, like, that's part of it, but like, America would start watching the Oscars if you would do that more. If you would just say, "Yeah, we're dumbass rich people. What the fuck do we know?" Even if you don't believe it, even if you resent the public in which you basically work for. I know that all these people are hired by private organizations, private corporations, right? But that's who your market is. It's everyday people who pay for tickets, pay for streaming services, pay for their cable subscription. Yes, there are still people that pay for their cable. But that's who you're working for. That's who you have to impress, not each other. So, watch the Oscars, don't watch the Oscars. It's fine. It's gonna have ridiculously low ratings again. Okay. So it's fine. Like, I don't know what they can do to boost ratings at this point. Nobody cares. Outside of LA and New York, I really don't think anybody cares. I like it just because it gives me something to talk about. I like the history. And I like how ridiculous it all is. I like the pomp and circumstance. Hey, there's something to tune into on Sunday night, and like, let's make fun of, like I understood that about the Fashion Police, even though I never watched that show. Uh, which, by the way, perfect segue into Dune 2 is the Fashion Police. So, just real quick, this is where I discovered Zendaya. Okay. I didn't know who she was. I didn't watch the Disney Channel at the time, which I guess she was on some show. And I don't even remember what event this was. This was like a decade ago, more than a decade ago, I think. But she showed up on the red carpet, and this show on the Entertainment Network, E, made some bohemian joke about her where she looked like she smoked weed and stunk of patchouli. And somehow Zendaya and her people twisted this around to be a racist comment or something. And again, this is a long time ago. This is years before Euphoria or anybody knew who this girl was, except for, again, people who like the Disney Channel. I don't know. So I that was my entry, and the Fashion Police was part of, like, oh, let's make fun of badly dressed celebrities. And it was, I think it was started by Joan Rivers. And at this point she was no longer on it. I don't even know if she was alive at this point, but and the show ended up getting canceled over this, like, non-controversy. So it was just like, what a weird like series of events, tornado of chaos, and just, okay, whatever. So yeah, Dune 2 has come out. A movie I've kind of been, I don't wanna say been dreading, um, because I just hated the first one. The first one was so dry and boring, and slow, 2.5 hours of a movie that's setting up another movie, and with it, I suppose we have 5.5 hours now, of Hollywood movie making that's, you know, I'm not quite sure where I am on it yet. I reviewed it on Friday night, kinda giving a 3 out of 5 lukewarm review. The more that I think about it, though, the more I think there might be something there, but I'm not sure. It's like, I think I am gonna have to rewatch it just to kind of, let the thing play over again, because I can see what Denis Villeneuve was trying for. I can see the big ideas. I can see the spectacle, all of it kinda coming together. I just don't know if it quite gets to the I don't know if it gets to the type of movie that he was trying for. I think it comes up just short in a lot of different ways. So, I like a lot of the performances. I like the story itself. I think it's actually it's the most interesting type of, like, basic, um Jesus, I'm trying to think of the word, but it's kind of the most basic, allegorical type of story, the Bible, Star Wars, uh, religious epics, etcetera, that you can kind of drum up, where you combine history, when you combine culture, where you combine religion, in this sort of science fiction package. It's, that it is interesting, it is high-minded, um, but it's so much like those other things. It's just, it's the literary version of all those ideas sort of coming together. I think some of the performances are really good. I think it still is a little long. I think it's still a little drawn out. Uh, the first act is very spaced out. It definitely has issues with pacing. And then the second and third act, you have all this stuff being shoved in there because we have to get to the end where, Paul Atreides declares war on the entire galaxy. Uh, but it's, again, all things considered, like it more than I dislike it. I just don't think that it really gets all the way there in terms of its structure, its composition, start to finish. It's a little muddled, and again, you have different issues where in the beginning you spend a lot of time on Arrakis seeing Paul Atreides sort of become one of the Fremen, and then again, you have all the political machinations of the Bene Gesserit and the Harkonians, and oh, Paul really is actually one of them per their bloodline, and it's just like there's a lot there to sort of digest, and I think it's a big accomplishment. I do want to say that 5.5 hours trying to get all of this on screen is an amazing accomplishment. As somebody who, look, I have daydreams of, okay, if I adapted American Psycho, if I adapted this book to a movie, how would I do it? And it's like it takes so much fucking brain power of just trying to extrapolate what what one literary artist is doing to a screenplay, to the cinematic form. And it's just like I think it's amazing. But again, it has to do with creativity, and it has to do with having a vision of, hey, I can make this work. I can adapt this into something special, something that hasn't been done. Because Dune, I'll be honest with you, if you ask me, I'd be like, yeah, that's not adaptable. Like you're not going to be able to get that on a movie screen in a coherent, cogent way. So as flawed as it is, as much as I don't think it completely adds up as a great, work of art or anything, I do think it's an incredibly successful adaptation. Just because, like, if I sat down, literally, if I sat down, even without the blueprint of the movies that exist and said, okay, adapt that, I'd just be like, no fucking way. There's no way. There's aliens and races of things and planets, and there's all this fucking work to do to explain how this is even possible. And just fuck that, dude. I'll write a detective novel before I write that kind of shit. So I do think it's a great accomplishment, and it's going to make a ton of money. So my opinion doesn't matter. I just, it's a little in terms of the material, it's basic. It's like these aspects of good and evil and galactic, you know, whatever, galactic houses and but I do appreciate the level in which the story is developed, that it is sort of this impossible decision for this character who has been bred, I guess, to be a leader, and he doesn't really have a choice. Like, lots of people are gonna die no matter what, and it's like, I have to, like, do this thing that might kill me, but it'll allow me to see the past and the future, and, I mean, there's a lot of shit here to sort of to bake over, after the movie's over and just be like, "What did I just watch? What the fuck was that?" So, I definitely think it'll benefit from a second watch, but yeah, there's a lot there. There's just a lot to digest, but Austin Butler's great. I did like Christopher Walken, even though he's kind of playing himself. Florence Pugh's very good, but yeah, she looks like the Empress from the Neverending Story. Yeah. Greg Fraser, I think, is getting a little bit too much praise for his cinematography. Like, I mean, it's CGI. You know what I mean? It's like it looks fine. I personally think John Wick 4 looks better, but hey, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure those things are like, made up planets, far reaching technology, all that shit. I'm sure all of that is really hard to bring to life. I'm sure I have zero inclination about the amount of hard work that takes. And seriously, hats off to you for bringing a complex science fiction environment and world story to life. But Jesus, dude, for the most part, it's just like very dry, slow moving desert planet, resources, religious jihad. I mean, it's just like, okay, all right, we get it. I got it. I got the picture. So, I'll say this: today's episode is probably going to be a little shorter than my other ones, which I was able to stretch out for an hour, hour and a half. But I don't know. There hasn't been much that I've really wanted to talk about. I'm glad that Lily Gladstone won the SAG a couple weeks ago, and I do think the Best Actress race is going to be interesting. But yeah, I don't have much to talk about. 2024, when it comes to movies, has been. I mean, there's just not much to talk about. You have Dune, which was okay. I gave it a 3 out of 5. The Beekeeper is still the highest rated movie that I've watched and rated this year, 3.5 out of 5. A Jason Statham action movie is the highest rated movie. It's March 7th. By the way, happy birthday to Bret Easton Ellis, my favorite author, my favorite film critic. Just a great writer, funny, insightful. But yeah, he's turning 60 today. I'm sure he's not pulling his hair out. So, but two more things that I kind of wanted to go over today. I haven't even gotten to watch the full thing, so we'll at least get my reaction from it. Is the Kevin Costner movie that's coming out. So yes, Kevin Costner, after his blow up with Yellowstone and Taylor Sheridan, is a 2-part movie, like a Western epic that's coming out. First part is coming out in June. The second part is coming out in August, I think. So so immediately hearing about this project, I was very interested. I really like Dances with Wolves. Some of his other stuff is not as good. I kind of fashioned him our John Wayne. Whether that's fair or not, it's just he's the closest thing that we have to like a John Wayne figure. I know that he never really directed, or at least to the point where it was a notable thing about him, whereas Costner's kind of created his own little collection of movies. But yeah, we'll pull up the trailer here and take a look.
You and I are standing guard in one of the last great open spaces.
It's like immediately it's Danny Houston. I know Danny Houston's voice too well.
These people think that if they're tough enough, smart enough, and mean enough, all this will be there someday. There's no army of this earth that's going to stop those wagons coming.
I mean, so far, just visually, I mean, look at these. Look at these compositions. I mean, clear, beautiful, full, bright images. Now I lost my spot. Awesome.
Stop those wagons coming, little as they're wanted.
Get in there quick. Quick. Come on.
It's all right. I'm gonna be with Dad.
No. No. No.
All I'm trying to do is get as many of us as I can, as far as I can.
It's like to have a drink tonight with someone that knows how to act.
You're not taking the full measure of this, Mary. I know the man I met was on his way to kill everyone in that house. He might as well have been walking up to get the mail for all it bothered him.
What you build, they will burn down.
You use that much this year?
Haven't had much need of it yet.
Looks like we got ourselves a bad man right here.
Okay, so, yeah, not terrible. I mean, it's gonna be a 2-part Western thing, so I don't know how much, you know, you don't want to see everything in the trailer, obviously, but it looks pretty good. It definitely looks like something I would check out. I just think that investment is a big part of people's lack of interest in the movies. I mean, there's so few movies worth, I mean, just by watching the trailer, and even if you don't, even if you just kind of go to the IMDb page, read what the plot's about, look who's directing, look who's starring in it, you know, there's no reason for people to go to the movies. There's no movie stars. The directors, all the great directors have either retired or have lost, you know, lost something to what made them great. And there's really only a few names that gets people excited anymore. So that's what people want. They want to invest their time. They want to invest their money. They want to invest in something that's going to provide them with an experience worth having. And Hollywood has really dropped the ball when it comes to this at least the last decade, if not longer. So I salute Kevin Costner still having that passion and desire to do something like this. How good it is, all that shit, you know, we'll have to see. But I think that's what people want. They want something that they can invest in. It's certainly what I want. The reason I believe in, you know, I've never said this. People might get this confused if they follow me on Twitter and they see me talk about auteurs a lot. All that means is that you are the author of your vision of the movie you are directing. Usually it means you're the literal writer. Certainly Kevin Costner is an auteur, and he is an auteur of this these series of movies, you know, Open Range, The Postman, Waterworld, if you want to go there, Dances with Wolves, you know what I mean? So good, bad, and indifferent. He is a passionate man that has a vision for storytelling. sometimes he gets it right. Sometimes he makes something clunkier than hell. But this is the kind of thing that it's really hard not to see it for, these the earnest love letter to the Western and to the West that it is. His style is somewhat traditional overall, but he doesn't really shy away from the violent action of sort of revisionist westerns that they have. So, but he generally likes to occupy that, honorable, Western milieu. I'm gonna bring the cattle home and quietly go about my business and be respectful, ma'am, kind of thing. Sorry, I'm so not that way. So yeah, obviously it's hard for me to at least joke about it. But yeah, no, I'll always kind of be interested in what he does. I have not seen Yellowstone. I know that's more Taylor Sheridan's bag. So one of these days maybe I'll start it. I know it's on Peacock, but yeah, I grew up being a big not a big Kevin Costner fan, but I grew up with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which is just such a fun Hollywood production of a movie. I mean, it kind of gets made fun of in serious movie circles. Certainly the Brits like to poke fun at it. And I grew up with Robin Hood Men in Tights. So I mean, again, I have sort of the best of both worlds there, but he was a certain type of heroic figure growing up, and you could always count on him to do the right thing. And he always played those types of characters. That's kind of what I mean when I say he was our John Wayne. It's the closest thing that sort of embodies that, traditional American spirit. So, yeah, that's going to be coming out in June. There's really not much to hold us over till then. You know what I mean? I'm going to be watching classic movies in the theater, like we got Gone with the Wind coming up. I mean, that's just a great opportunity. Like, I know it's almost 4 hours long, but I don't think I have anything else to do. So Gone with the Wind, Chinatown's coming up. We've got The Shawshank Redemption, The Matrix, Field of Dreams. Speaking of Kevin Costner, I think I'm forgetting one, but yeah, those are coming up here in the next month and early part of April. Baseball's coming up, so I'm gonna have to find some alternative things to talk about or to discuss, just because there is not much on the new movie docket. So I might have to just come up with topics on old movies and directors, and kind of get into some other stuff that I'm interested in when it comes to movies. So pretty much hit all the topics that I kind of wanted to get to with this week's episode. I do want to go through my movie collection here. It's not, I think there's only about 10 letter C movies that I have, but we'll get into it here. So this was a present. I did not ask for this, but yeah, this is one of Clint Eastwood's last movies that he did. Cry Macho. I think this is probably his. I mean, I don't want to say it's his worst movie, because I don't think it's his worst movie, but it's definitely in the top 5. It was okay. I knew what he was trying to do with it. I did go to see it in the theater because, again, I didn't know if it was going to be his last movie. I'm glad that he was able to come out with Richard Jewell, which was pretty good. I didn't think it was nearly as good as a lot of the people in my circle did, especially a lot of conservatives, but I did think it was I think it was a solid thriller. Can I just say, for the record, John Hamm is a terrible actor. Okay. And I mean, it's unfair, but every time he tries to play like a tough talking cop or FBI agent, he embarrasses the shit out of himself. Same to be said for like at some tough talking criminal, like in Baby Driver. You're not intimidating, John Hamm. You know what you're good at? Playing Don Draper and comedy. Like he's very adept at comedy. It's like he's a beautiful man, like this whatever, Adonis, beautiful man, looks great in a suit kind of thing. He's so good at comedy. He really is. Like that, I think, is his strong suit. and he was perfect at playing Don Draper. But every time he tries to be like action hero role guy, it's just the worst. I mean, he could not convince anybody that he was an authority figure. It's amazing to me that he had the skill to carry that TV show, that very good TV show, one of the greatest of all time, and yet he can't do very basic sort of genre work. It's incredible. Next one is a movie that I have really, I've loved it since I was a teenager. The Count of Monte Cristo. So if anybody has read the book, I mean, it depends on what your opinion is, if it's a good adaptation or not. I think it's an incredible adaptation because of the dense amount of material, and to be able to fit it in like an hour and 45-minute runtime here. Let me just double check here. Touchstone Home Entertainment, Disney. Yes, when Disney actually produced good stuff. Yeah, it's escaping. They're 131 minutes, so I lied. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think it's a fun Kevin Reynolds directed movie. Speaking of Robin Hood Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. If you know Kevin Reynolds and you know his style, yeah, these fun, breezy action movies that don't pull the punches on the violence, actually, have stakes, have you know what you're getting with them, but they're eminently satisfying as movie experiences. I know that movie has a lot of fans. This one is one I have not opened yet, but I saw it online and I had to get it. This is James Woods' cop movie. I think this is from 1986. This is exactly what you think it is. It's just like a cop who doesn't follow the rules. His police captain boss is always on him. He's trying to make a case, bringing a serial killer. I mean, it's cliche 80s cop stuff, but I love it. And it's the kind of stuff that just doesn't get made anymore. That's, would be an Amazon Prime TV show. But yeah, I just love this like cliche laden, violent, nudity, over the top. It's just good stuff, things like this that they unfortunately don't make anymore. Okay, this is, in my opinion, this is one of the greatest films of all time, and it never gets talked about. Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation is a masterpiece. It is an incredible film. It is a beautiful accumulation of visual and auditory clues and secrets, and just like breadcrumbs of a brilliant character study, a brilliant plot. It's magnificently filmed. It's one of those movies that you'll see in almost every critic's top 25 or top 50 list, but there's a reason. And even being from the 70s, even being in a great year for movies, 1974, it seems to get forgotten about, and it's just tremendous. If you have not seen it, please do yourself a favor. It is truly one of the finest films I've ever seen. Okay, so this is the definition of a guilty pleasure. But I have so much fun watching Con Air, and I still probably list it as one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances because it's so hammy, because it's so cliche ridden. It's a very simple story. It's basically an innocent man who is capable of killing people, going home to see his wife and daughter, who he's been deprived of for like 7 years. And of course, he gets on the worst plane you could possibly get on, and it's such a movie. It's such a, like, yes, we know it's bad. That's not the point. Yes, the premise, yes, it's right out of the 1970s disaster movie with like an action hero sort of bent to it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's not meant to be good. It's just like meant to be a good time. All right. Collateral. So Collateral, this is a movie that I talk so much shit about. And it's probably because I like Michael Mann a lot. I really do like the director who did Thief. He did Heat, Collateral. did The Insider, which is an excellent movie. I had to watch it a second time to kind of get that, but Collateral it's okay. There are moments, there are things about it I really like, but this started Michael Mann's move to digital away from film. And again, I usually don't have that big of a I usually don't make that big of a stink about it, but in this case, it's like he decided to shoot everything digitally from a helicopter at night. And I know there are reasons for it. I know that, but it's like it just looks like shit. The scenes inside the club don't look good. LA is a fascinating city at night, and yet it looks so dull and so bleak, and not like in a film noir interesting way. It's just sort of like it's strangely feels empty, has no character or personality. And then like I don't know, the whole thing about like him picking up the DA played by Jada Pinkett and then her being the final target on his list is so fucking stupid. That is so like that's like that movie thing that gets thrown in there and it wants you to take it seriously as a plot point. And I'm like, no, I'm not that much of an idiot. I'm sorry. I need more than that. You know, and then the fact that like you made this amazing villain. Tom Cruise is such a great job in this as this like sociopathic villain who has his code and has his like the things he follows, and you just kind of abandon that at the very end to have Jamie Foxx win. I don't know. The more satisfying thing to me is the more nihilistic approach where like, no, the professional hitman wins. You know why? Because this is his job. This is literally how he makes his livelihood. You're not going to outsmart him or outmaneuver him. He's going to kill you. So I don't, like that whole monologue that Cruise gives Fox about, zoning out, falling asleep in his Barca lounger when he's 70. That it's like you're already dead, Max. You're already dead. So again, I guess it has to be good enough for me to get to be passionate enough about the story and what happens, but it's a movie that always annoys the shit out of me, even though I own it and I watch it. And by the way, look up Mark Ruffalo in Collateral. Just do yourself a favor and look that up and talk to me about racial representation in movies. Because Mark Ruffalo playing a Hispanic cop is beyond hilarious. I'm just saying. Okay. So this is a movie I have not seen. I bought it like a decade ago. I have not watched this movie yet. And in the years since the movie came out, there's even more. It's more of a gamble now than ever, just because of what happened to the Wachowskis, or And I don't mean the transition thing. I just mean they've made nothing but crap movies. Like Speed Racer. Like what was that Matrix movie that I refuse to watch it, but like Matrix Revolutions or I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying that right, or if that's the third Matrix movie. But yeah, just people you wouldn't take serious as artists. But someday I will watch Cloud Atlas. There's really no reason. I mean, I would rather like rewatch something that I love than take the gamble on this. But yes, I do own it. Okay, so this is probably one of my, I don't know if I can call it a favorite Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray, but yeah, I'm very proud to own this 4K Blu-ray of Citizen Kane. The packaging is kind of stupid, but whatever. It's just a great movie. It's, you either get it or you don't, I suppose. I have talked to people who don't like Citizen Kane very much. I think the movie's heartbreaking. I think it's magnificent. It's technically one of the best films ever made, shot for shot. It's a beautiful work of art. The fact that it's a kind of Shakespearean tragedy of this man, this man of industry, just sort of solidifies why it's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Every time I see it, I seem to like it more and more. I saw it in the theater a couple years ago during COVID, and that was a hell of an experience, so and again, it's not difficult. Like people talk about what it means or the significance of Rosebud. And it's very simple. It's not rocket science. It's very clear what that movie is about, what that character's about. His parents gave him up. It's there in the first scene. His parents gave him up, and it was to, provide him a better life and all these things that you can justify it however you want. But the fact of the matter is that his parents, the people that brought him into this world, sold him, gave him away, and did not love him. And again, you could say that, love comes in, but really that's that emotional thing where it's like what he didn't have or what he was looking for or why he was the way he was. It's not that difficult to figure out. It's very clear. If you ever want a good laugh though, go check out Donald Trump reviewing Citizen Kane. It's on YouTube. It's fantastic. I can't recommend that more because it's like, are you for real, dude? You don't see the parallels there? Anyway, moving on. Love Citizen Kane. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I know it's from 1941, but there's a reason why it's considered one of the greatest films of all time. Another movie I have not opened yet is Charlie Varick. This is a movie I had not even heard of until Quentin Tarantino was on the Bret Easton Ellis podcast back in 2015. And he had this list of movies that really inspired him and really, meant a lot to him creatively and that he remembered well. And some of them are just bad, stupid, dumb movies that are from his childhood, which, hey, we all have those. I'm not gonna knock him unnecessarily for that, but some of them were incredible, like Joe, starring Peter Boyle from 1970. And this is another one, Charlie Varick, starring Walter Matthau. This is like No Country for Old Men, but just a lot less grim, kind of 70s, kind of an elevated B movie plot and type of actors. But you have what is it? Who's the guy who played in Walking Tall? Baker. He's in it as like the villain. He's awesome. He plays this awesome heavy Joe Don Baker. It's just a fun movie. Like, yeah, you could definitely consider it like a bad genre crime movie or whatever, but it's just, to me, it's just fun. It's like, what's going to happen. You've stolen the mob's money and you have this loudmouth partner. And yeah, you know where things are going. And that's what I love about the 70s. They told you that. All right, just a couple more here. So this is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time, Chinatown. It's the most pessimistic, nihilistic ending. Maybe not of any movie I've seen, but certainly it's the most satisfyingly nihilistic movie that I've seen, in the sense that the movie language of Chinatown leading up to that moment, it's the solidification of everything that happens. Like, you're too late. You're not, like, you think that you're helping somebody, but you might just be furthering their exploitation, and where you don't really, it's that saying that he says to Evelyn in bed, as little as possible, to do as little as possible when it comes to Chinatown, because you don't know whether you're helping somebody or you're furthering their descent. And that's the harrowing and haunting thing about this movie. It's just like that very human impulse to want to help. And you can't. There's nothing you can do. It's an inescapable reality. And just watching it as somebody that was going from, early 20s into actual adulthood, it's just something that kind of like puts a lump in your throat and takes your breath away. And yeah, it's as good as art gets, honestly, in movie form anyway. This is another one I've not opened yet. I got it recently from Arrow Video. This is the Carlito's Way 4K Blu-ray. It's huge. It's got a lot of special features. So I'm definitely excited to open this relatively soon. But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite Brian De Palma movies. I'm not a big Brian De Palma fan. He's just not my he's not my my guy in terms of filmmaker. But This is a good one. I think this is a good crime melodrama. Al Pacino is wonderfully tragic in it. What is it? Penelope Ann Miller is in it, I think. An actress I don't know that well, but it's like I notice her when she pops up and stuff. She's in Kindergarten Cop. So I will definitely check that out soon. Okay, last two. They're two good ones. Martin Scorsese's Casino, 4K Blu-ray. This movie has grown on me over time. It used to be something I only saw on USA, like on reruns. It was like 3 hours, a 3-hour block. So, I never got to see the whole thing. This is, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's a flawed movie that has too many cuts that was probably hell for Thelma Schoonmaker to sew together. It's shot after shot, voiceover, shot after shot after shot. It's a lot. Like and sometimes I think that rapidity and that relentlessness of it is a little much. And then the Sharon Stone thing. Sharon Stone is sort of this crazy over the top. She's constantly breaking shit. She's on drugs, all that stuff, right? Over time, I have actually, while I don't think it's a better film than Goodfellas, I do think Casino actually is a very good film because the relationship, if you follow the relationship alone, that is like, it's right out of like an Italian melodrama or something where you have these people that are not stable, these wild emotional swings, the guy is dealing with like all the machinations of the criminal underworld while his wife is sort of like not exactly being the best, model of their relationship all over town, screwing this drug abusing douchebag. All of that combined with like the casino and the Teamsters and Joe Pesci's character, Joe Pesci literally threatening Richard Reel, the banker, with like, because I'm stupid. I don't give a fuck about jail. That's my business. That's what I do. Plus, there's multiple lines in Casino that are so painfully relevant to my own life. Like when Robert De Niro realizes he's not going to be able to save Sharon Stone. He's like basically like, I can't do the exact line, but like I couldn't make her love me, all the money and all the effort and time and everything basically wasted. And I couldn't make this person, love me. And it's just so fucking heartbreaking. And just, yeah. And then just moments of, being in a relationship and just, you feel like you're going insane. So, I know Casino is a bit divisive, especially among Scorsese fans, but it generally has a positive reputation. Yeah. So I really like it. I've come a long way on it where it's like I kind of considered it a lesser Scorsese for a long time, and now it's kind of, I would say, middle of the pack. I mean, there's so many good movies there that it's really hard to judge past a certain point, but that's probably where I would place it. And then the last movie in my C collection is Casablanca. So this is a movie that's beloved by cinephiles. I've never loved it. It's a really good movie. I can't say it's not. It's just like, kind of a woman's fantasy. And what I mean by that is like, you get to have your little rendezvous with Humphrey Bogart and reminisce, but you've also got a new relationship that you're flying away to. And, it's bittersweet and it's all these things that kind of annoy me about women in general, but it's fine. Most of my friends are women. I was raised by a single mother, so again, I should be more sympathetic ultimately, but it's such a kind of silly fantasy movie. But that ultimately is incredibly well done, has beautiful music, beautiful cinematography, great location, great actors. I mean, 1940s Warner Brothers, you have Humphrey Bogart, you have Ingrid Bergman, you have Claude Rains. It's just a tremendous cast. There's a reason why it's considered one of the greatest films of all time, one of the great films of the Hollywood golden era studio system. It, but just never been my favorite. But I also need to kind of spend more time with it. So it's a classic. It's one of those movies like Gone with the Wind. I mean, Gone with the Wind, I've seen one time and it kind of was exhausted by the time it was over. So I want to give it its fair shake and kind of appropriately, absorb it, what it has to say, all of that. So just kind of reading through the comments here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Carlito's Way is it's probably my favorite Brian De Palma movie behind Carrie and Phantom of the Paradise, but that's just because I'm not a big Brian De Palma fan. I know that The Untouchables is a big fan favorite. I don't know, like, and Scarface, people love that movie. I hate it. I mean, I absolutely hate Scarface. Just because, and really, it has nothing to do with anything specifically other than Al Pacino and with his fucking accent. But it's not a bad movie, but the way that it gets overrated just because of its appeal to gangster culture and that kind of thing, that whole like hip hop artists sort of loving it and it's not understanding the message is kind of ironic in a hilarious way. But yeah, no, it is. It's that's another one I own that's in my teas, but that is a great movie. And it's always interesting that Walter Houston is in it, being directed by John Huston, his son. I think that is still the only Oscar where a father ends up winning because of his son's direction. Just because, how often does that scenario even play itself out? Yeah, Scarlett O'Hara is just a massively delusional bitch, but she is the poster child for the woman you don't want to marry. Yep. Well, I mean, it's so gaudy and over the top, and like the soundtrack is just a lot. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's good parts, where Pacino almost gets his hand chainsawed off, or what is it, F. Murray Abraham gets hung from a helicopter. But like Al Pacino losing his shit over his sister dating his best friend. I mean, just some of the character stuff was just like, okay, like I guess Coke is a hell of a drug, right, Rick James? I guess you just lose all kinds of perspective. I don't know. Okay. I mean, I prefer Howard Hawks' 1932 version of Scarface personally, but comparing those two things, it's like apples and oranges at a certain point. You know what I mean? So, it's a 1930s gangster movie is going to be completely different from an early 80s gangster movie. So I accept that. I completely accept that. So that about does it for this week's show. I'm just continuing waiting for new movies to come out. I'm behind on 2 reviews that I need to get out. I have yeah, there's something to that. I've got Drive Away Dolls and Dune Part 2 coming, so I will have those out by tomorrow. I promise. And I'm just going to be trying to do this podcast every week. I might be getting a job here, so that the time and date might change, but I'm enjoying it. I like being able to have something to talk about my thoughts on. It's fun, it's engaging. There's more people watching here than I thought would, so that's cool. Thanks for watching along, and I appreciate your comments, your thoughts, your interaction. So just keep a look over on my Twitter, Rob Motto Movies. It's going to be the same for my YouTube. And yeah, hopefully there'll be some interesting movies to talk about in the coming weeks. If not, I will try to make it interesting with, my knowledge of movies, actors, the studios, anything I can kind of think of just to keep busy. So take it easy. I'll have my review of the Oscars next week. I will probably have other things to talk about, but until then, take it easy. And I don't know, just keep surviving, I guess.